to another exciting episode of Art Check. My name is Anne Masharia. While most of you are back at home throwing pieces or throwing waste aimlessly, someone somewhere is making use of technology to make use of the recycled materials back at home.
It takes care of you.
So welcome to the Mr. Green Africa factory. So what we have here is basically the offloading area for when we receive plastic from various places in Nairobi and around Nairobi and even in Kenya. Once the plastic gets here, we basically sort into the different types, whether it's PP, PET and HDPE, which are the three types that we currently are recycling. And we sort according to type and according to color.
Okay. All right. When you mean color, meaning the blue ones at one point?
Yes. So we do blue, red, green, white, separate, black as well. Yeah. This is unsorted material. Once it's sorted, it's put in dabras, it's labeled according to the type, and it's taken inside the factory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you mean sorting, do we have manual or?
Yes, it's all manual sorted, so it's fed through the conveyor. Once it goes on the conveyor, we have 8 people who stand up and sort into different holes, as you can see in the pocket at the bottom. So each hole has a different color, so you'll find maybe green or red or pink or whatever it is. Yeah.
Now, because I was to ask you and say, when do you mean plastic? It's only plastic. You don't get any other waste.
We don't deal with plastic waste. We only deal with, we don't deal with any other, like metal or anything like that. We only deal with plastic. And for cartons and Tetra Pak, we bail. Yeah. So we only handle plastic waste.
So 8 people are going to do this?
Yes.
How long does it take?
Doesn't take that long. I mean, the target for the day is about 4 tons a day. So, yeah. That is 4 tons a shift, technically, yeah.
So do they work in shift?
Right now we're only running 1 shift, but eventually we'll do 2 shifts or 3 shifts, yeah. So it looks bulky because it's obviously bulky, but the tonnage is not as much as what you would assume.
So after this?
After this, it now goes inside the factory, and I'll hand you over to one of the machine operators.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Ooh, freshness, sweetness, happiness of the surrounding breeze.
You would receive waste, right? And basically, I know you deal with bottles and plastics. What do you do to the other waste that you get? The other waste, because obviously they are the waste the unwanted ones.
We dispose them through other waste management companies.
Okay. Yeah. So after sorting the PET bottles and the PP bottles, what happens?
So for PET, we feed it through this conveyor. But for PE and PP, we feed them through that bag. This unit of machine is called label remover. It removes these labels. But most of PE and PP, they are large, and they cannot go through this machine. The space in between is so small, so it can only allow a given diameter of a material to pass. So for PE and PP, we feed them through that belt. But for PET, we feed them here, and those labels are removed here. These are a label scrapper.
Okay.
So
now that you've
just the beginning of the feeding.
A long process.
So these are label remover.
Are we allowed to touch?
Yes, you can touch.
Then it comes from here.
It comes through there. So the labels are sucked, goes the other side. Screens are out, metals, mud, tops. Like top, this machine is also capable of removing tops.
So, you mean tops as in the bottles or the cups?
Yeah. So the removed cups, when they get to this place, during that bouncing, they get screened and fall in this box. So you can see a sample. So it is mud or some waste.
Okay.
Then after that, we have this another sorting table, and the purpose of this is for quality.
The quality.
Now, maybe by chance there was we were sorting PE, but PE, it is also divided into two.
Yeah.
There's PE yellow and PE white, and they are in three: PE yellow, white, and mix. So maybe you will find mix in yellow. So that is an unwanted color. So we do another quality check here. That is one. And another thing, there's a metal detector here. So this one helps us in detecting metals that are hidden in the material or that has passed through all that process. So if they are detected here, we remove it. So there are also some guys here who does that. You can have a minimum of 2.
So, sorry for interruption, but if I may ask, how many people are operating over there?
A minimum of 2.
Minimum of 2. Yes. And here a minimum of 2. Ah, okay.
But you can go as 3. Yeah. Then after that, the material are conveyed into the crusher. So this is where we have the crushing. And that crushing also goes along with the washing. And we call it cold washing, because water we use here is the cold water. But so as we crush, we also wash. We also pump water into this crusher.
As you say, this is the crushing area. To what size do you crush, Ama? What exactly do?
Like I can, you cannot measure the crushed one, because there are some which are smaller, but you can measure the size of the sieve, which is 2 millimeters. That is the size.
Okay, so each bottle will be 2 millimeters.
No, when you pour in material, as you crush, maybe a given material has attained that 2 millimeter, but it is not able to pass the steel. So it will be crushed further. So you can say that all the materials that passes are 2 millimeters in, but averagely, or the size of the sieve is 2 millimeters.
Okay.
That is,
So there's also washing involved.
yes, but it's a cold washing.
Cold washing. And obviously the water will be wastewater because the bottles are dirty, the PET bottle dirty. Where do you dispose that water?
Maybe she did not show you, there's a water treatment plant adjacent to the sorting table. So when we release that water, it goes to that treatment plant. It is recycled back into the system. But maybe it will reach a point that it is so dirty that you cannot use it. Then we supplement it with the Nairobi water. But basically we recycle.
Okay. Is there anything else that happens here?
No, it is just cold washing and crushing. That is.
Okay. So on to the next step.
So you saw the other types of conveyors we were using the other side. There's another type of conveyor here. This is a conveyor. It's called screw conveyor. So when the material now are turned into flakes, we cannot convey them using the other conveyor. So once they are crushed, this conveyor conveys them to this tank. This tank is called float sink washing tank. The reason is that there are some material that floats on it, and there are some material that sinks on it. So it helps in two purposes. One, it helps in washing, and another one is it helps in separation of those materials that floats and those ones that sinks. So like when you are doing PE or PP, this material should be floating. And when you get a material of this kind that sinks, that means that it is of a low quality. So this tank also helps us in identifying or in separation of those low quality material from what is required.
Ooh, freshness.
When it sinks, it gets through the other conveyor and then delivered from the other side. When it floats, it comes up here and get conveyed through this conveyor into the system. So that is the main purpose of this tank. So this is called a dryer. Its main purpose is just to dry the material, to remove water element that may come from the float tank. So when the material comes from the other side, it comes with the water. So that water is removed here to able the material be transferred into this tank. So in this tank, this is where we have washing, and here we use hot water that is boiled, that is heated up to a temperature of 85 or 70, but averagely 75. It ranges from 70 to 85. And we use chemicals, that is trisodium phosphate and caustic soda. So that one, those chemicals help in removal of fats, oils, something like that.
Now, I hope you've learned something about waste. You know, waste from PET bottles. PET bottles, I mean this kind of bottles. Bottles from water, they use in water, cans. These are the bottles that are called PET bottles. Now, what does Mr. Green do? That is what we are answering immediately after the break.